I want to take the next few minutes to explain how the virtual school is going to work this year. There are going to be four major components to this virtual training plan of ours. First, there's going to be the traditional home study that you're used to when preparing for a major school. Second, every enumerator is going to be expected to attend a teleconference where we will be going over the highlights of the survey, the due dates, the deadlines, and other general information applicable to each state. There will also be web-based study that you will be exploring through the NASDA Purdue GLR website, and you will be doing teamwork with your supervisors and other enumerators as part of your team. You will be given a checklist of items that you are expected to complete as part of this self-study. And if you are working just the ARMS 2, you can have up to 16 hours claimed on your timesheet. If you're also working VegChem, you can claim up to 20 hours total for your self-study, which would include reading your manuals, reviewing the videos, taking the quizzes, meeting with your supervisors, attending the teleconferences, and doing practice exercises. Let's talk about each of the components of your self-study. The first part is what I would categorize as traditional home study. We sent out UPS packages with a lot of the pre-survey material the week of October 5th. Inside those packages, you're going to find what I would call the traditional preschool materials, the interviewer's manual, the blank questionnaires, the practice exercises, copies of the supplements. We also are including the labeled questionnaires for ARMS 2 that are going to be part of your assignment, as well as your assignment listings. We're also going to include some general instructions as part of the training expectations. Each enumerator is going to be expected to attend a teleconference that will be facilitated by NAS staff from East Lansing. The three teleconferences, one for each state, are scheduled for October 15 or October 16. For Michigan enumerators, it will be the morning of the 15th at 8 a.m. For Indiana enumerators, it will be the afternoon of the 15th at 2 p.m. And for Ohio enumerators, it will take place on Friday the 16th at 10 a.m. If you are unable to attend your state's teleconference, you may be able to join in one of the other states' conferences. Please be sure to communicate with your supervisor or your NASDA coordinator to make sure that everybody is aware of which teleconference you plan to attend. During these teleconferences, we're going to focus on the general survey procedures, due dates, benchmarks, survey coordination, and other survey reminders. We'll take a quick look at some of the material on the website. We'll share any late-breaking survey developments and items that are not covered in these recorded sessions. We will address questions that people may have based on things that were not clear in the material provided to you in the videos or other resources on the website, but we are not going to be looking at the questionnaire content. The expectation is that you will be reviewing a lot of that material on your own through your self-study of the web materials and conversations with your supervisor. A major component of your self-study will be reviewing the materials provided for you on the GLR website. The Great Lakes region has created 8 separate training videos for you to watch, which cover the different sections of the ARMS Phase 2 questionnaire. We are also in the process of creating additional videos for the vegetable chemical use survey. In addition to those videos, we were fortunate to have the Northern Plains region share with us some video content they created, which will complement the videos we created locally quite nicely. Also, we posted a recording of a webinar provided to us by the National Operations Division, where representatives of USDA's Office of Pest Management Policy discuss many of the new questions that have been added to the ARMS Phase 2 and vegetable chemical use surveys in sections E1. Another change you will see this year is in how we're administering the quizzes. Instead of one long quiz that you would complete with paper and pencil and send to your supervisor, there will be 8 mini quizzes, which are tied to the specific section of the questionnaire being presented with the video. The quizzes can be completed online, and the links to get to the quizzes are right next to the links associated with each video. With these online quizzes, you can get immediate feedback as to whether or not you are answering the questions correctly, and we'll be able to share this information electronically with your supervisors who can help you understand what you may or may not have gotten correct. Finally, as part of your web-based training, we're providing 4 pre-filled in practice exercises from mock interviews, which were based on data from the last time we conducted a soybean ARMS 2 survey in 2018. You should take at least one of these mock interviews, perhaps more than one if you need practice, and enter the data into the newly designed CAPI instrument under the CAPI training app. They have built this brand new instrument to use for ARMS Phase 2, and they're in the process of finishing an instrument for the Vegetable Chemical Use Survey. Instead of sending all of the forms to St. Louis to be keyed and scanned, you will be entering the data from the paper forms into CAPI. We'll have a separate video which will discuss how this new CAPI instrument works in detail. The next component of your self-study will be teamwork. You will be all expected to have a meeting with your supervisors. This might be in the form of a group teleconference. This might be in the form of a one-on-one phone call. This might be in the form of a Zoom meeting. What I want to emphasize is that these are not going to be mini schools. The intention is that these are going to be structured more like breakout sessions that we've historically had at state schools when we've been able to hold them at hotels. Your supervisors will be able to share with you their wisdom from years of doing these surveys, and they will also talk with you about how they want you to handle these records. Especially knowing this is the first time we will have done them in CAPI, they may talk to you about how we want to have things saved for review, how we need to make sure we maintain the paper copies of the questionnaires. They might be able to share with you strategies for how we might be able to conduct interviews for this over the phone, strategies for obtaining the spray records, and any other items that aren't going to be specifically covered in any of the materials we've already posted on the Purdue site. Next, all enumerators should conduct at least one practice interview over the phone with a partner. This survey has never been conducted over the phone before, so it will be important that you consider how you will introduce this survey to respondents over the phone, convince them to complete the survey over the phone with you, and determine the best way to collect this data, like spray records, which might not translate well over the phone. Your supervisor may choose to pair you up to work with one of your fellow enumerators in your group to conduct these practice interviews, or your supervisor might want to do these practice interviews with you directly. The general idea is that you can use one of the 4 practice exercises provided to you as the basis for the interview, imagining what the respondent is following along with you with his or her own copy of the questionnaire while you ask the questions. As far as the timing of your training goes, enumerators can begin their self-study once you have your materials in hand. All enumerators, again, are expected to attend their scheduled teleconference, but if there is a conflict, you may be able to attend a different state's teleconference. Enumerators are expected to watch all the videos, take all the online quizzes, complete the practice exercise in CAPI, do a mock telephone interview, and meet with your supervisor before your training can be said to be complete. Once your supervisor is satisfied that you are fully trained on these surveys, you are welcome to begin enumeration. And now that you've been listening to this for a few minutes, you might be asking yourself a few questions. We've just answered the first one. How early can you begin your self-study? Well, as soon as you get your UPS packet that has your interviewer's manual in it, you can begin reviewing that material right away. You might be able to review some of the material on the website even earlier than that. How early can phoning begin on the survey? Well, as soon as your supervisor feels that you are sufficiently trained and that you're ready to begin interviews, you can begin. You probably should not begin before October 15th, which is when we're going to be having our first state teleconferences with enumerators. Why not follow the train the trainer model followed by mini schools that we've done in the past? Well, we wanted to provide more of a state supported training program for everyone here. This also will hopefully give you something more well rounded and give you a good experience that hopefully, if we need to do this again for another school, we can replicate and feel successful with it. What's the motivation behind this model? We wanted to provide as close as possible to the state school experience as we could. At state schools, what you're going to see are stats providing lectures, breakout sessions with supervisors, practice exercises, reviewing of quizzes. This is essentially the same idea, except we're doing it all virtually. Why are we waiting so late to start data collection? Well, the CAPI instrument wasn't available until very, very late in the process. And because we were still trying to figure out the best way to be able to conduct this survey absent of field interviews, this took a little bit of extra time and planning. Why couldn't we just do this as one big teleconference? Well, this is a pretty big survey. It would be a very long teleconference. Finally, why not use Zoom instead of teleconferences or Zoom for the training? It would take a lot of effort to get everybody coordinated to use Zoom, and we haven't really had a good chance to test Zoom on enumerator iPads. So what we're going to try to do is this process here, and then perhaps for something a little bit less stressful, perhaps a December ag or January cattle survey, we might try to do some training with Zoom. But let's take our time on that. Now I'd like to switch gears and take a look at the ARMS2 page on the Purdue site and see if we can find all the pieces that we're going to need to help us with this self-study. So once we arrive to the ARMS2 page, what you're going to see is the different areas are laid out based on the type of material that you're going to need. Over on the top left side, we have the pre-survey materials, including the enumerator memo, the full enumerator packet memo, the special Michigan pre-survey letter that was created to alert respondents there that they are eligible to receive 2 credits towards their restricted use pesticide applicator licenses, the national strategy letter, which is essentially the pre-survey letter that went out of NPC when it was mailed out with the respondent copy of the questionnaire, and a copy of a general brochure which we included with the mailing of the special Michigan pre-survey letter. In the middle, you're going to find the electronic copy of the soybean questionnaire, electronic copies of the respondent booklet, the field selection grid, fertilizer supplements, pesticide supplements, screening supplements, and the consent form so that you can speak with custom applicators if the respondent is unable to provide you the spray data provided by the custom applicator. On the right-hand side here, you're going to be seeing the copy of the interviewer's manual, which you should also have a hard copy of, the 4 different practice exercises, which again are essentially data from mock interviews based on data from the 2018 Soybean ARMS2 survey, an edit sheet checklist, a training checklist, the list of benchmark due dates, which we'll be going over during the teleconference, a copy of the teleconference agenda and some reminders about how to carry yourself during a teleconference, and a link to the NASDA.org website, which if you check ARMS2 in the box on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see some other resources that they have posted available. Near the bottom left here, we have copies of the chemical listings. Again, as in the past, we have two copies of the listings out there. One which is sorted by the name of the chemical, and one which is sorted by the EPA number. We also have a link to the how to download these files, store them on your iPad, and look up chemicals either by name or by EPA number directly yourselves. We have a list of the common adjuvants that are used, the additives that are used to help make the chemicals that are sprayed more effective. And we also are going to, again, maintain our updated list of new chemical codes. If we discover a chemical that has been added to the list that is not part of the all-inclusive pesticide list that's up here, we will make sure that we update those chemical names and codes in this file here. In the bottom middle part, we have a couple of files that are specific to Michigan only, including the seminar codes for the ARMS Phase 2 and Vegetable Chemical Use Survey that respondents would need to use when filling out their bubble sheets, and a copy of the completed bubble sheet example. Finally, over here in the bottom right corner, if there are oversights, for example, if we find errors in the interviewer's manual or other errors on the questionnaires, things like that, we will post them to an oversights page. Down below, this is where you are going to find copies of the videos that you are to watch and copies of the quizzes that you're expected to complete. If you're having trouble reviewing some of the videos because they're too big a file and you may not have the strongest Wi-Fi signal, you can always look at just the slides themselves, which have the content but no narration. What I'd like to do next is take a look at a couple of the checklists, specifically the training checklist that is up here under the enumerator resources category. This checklist, I believe, will help you determine exactly what it is you need to do in order to feel that you've been sufficiently trained for this survey. The first thing you should all do is, once your UPS package arrives, is make sure that everything that you're expecting is in that packet is there. You should refer on the cover letter to the list of enclosures of things that are expected to be found. If something is missing, be sure you're contacting the regional field office so we can get something sent along to you. You should also verify that you've received all of your kit envelopes for the samples that were assigned, and check those against your paper sample listings and your assignment listings in CAPI. If there's a discrepancy, be sure to contact both your supervisor and the regional office so we can get some things corrected. Be sure before making any phone calls that you are reviewing any comments or inserts in the sample listings or on the paper questionnaires. Make sure you're actually reading the questionnaire. If this is your first time doing an ARMS Phase 2 survey that has incorporated the new questions in section E1, take some extra time to look at those questions. Be sure you're reviewing the interviewer's manual, making notes as needed. Go through the practice exercises, make some notes there as needed. Document any questions, concerns, or issues or problems with the questionnaire and the manual, and be sure to share those concerns with your supervisor. Also, you want to contact your supervisor to discuss how and when you will meet to discuss these surveys, whether that's through a teleconference or a one-on-one phone call or through some other means. As far as the web-based study, again, you're expected to watch the welcome videos on the Purdue GLR website. Make sure you're looking at the various training videos for ARMS 2. There are the 8 online quizzes for ARMS 2. There will also be VegChem training videos, which have not yet been completed as of September 30th, when I am recording this video. We want to complete all the VCUS quizzes, document any questions, concerns, issues, or problems that you have, and be ready to share them with your supervisor or the regional office, possibly during the teleconferences scheduled for the 15th and 16th of October. Be sure to take the time to enter the data from at least one of the practice exercises, the mock interviews, into the CAPI training system, and you want to notify your supervisor immediately regarding any problems you might run into with the CAPI instrument. Maybe it's not saving data, maybe it's not wording the questions correctly, maybe something has been skipped you didn't expect. It's a brand new CAPI instrument, so there are bound to be bugs in it. We need to know where those bugs are sooner rather than later, because it will be much easier to fix them before we really start enumeration. Then, in the third category, you're doing the teamwork with your supervisors and the other enumerators in your group. You want to make sure you're taking the time to meet with your supervisor for the breakout session. And again, that could be a group teleconference. It might be one-on-one. It might be some other way. You want to make sure that you understand what your supervisor's expectations are for the benchmark due dates. By what point should you be having so many questionnaires done? At what point should you have all of your interviews set up? How do we want to handle records that are saved for review? How do you want to complete your mock interviews? Will you be doing them with your supervisor? Will you be doing them with another enumerator in your group? You want to discuss with your supervisor strategies for how you're going to collect the spray records if the respondent is unable to provide that information to you over the phone. This, again, being a brand new survey, or at least the way that we're conducting it, might take some good conversations and some good thoughts. We want to make sure that you address any questions that you still have about this year's survey to your supervisor, whether it's the questionnaire, the videos, the quiz, the CAPI instrument, any data collection strategies that are coming up. Again, this is the first time we've done a survey like this over the phone, and there's going to be a lot of moving parts and a lot of new pieces. We want to be able to make sure that we give you as much support as we can, and if you have questions, we can get them answered, and if something is wrong, we can do our best to get it fixed. From there, again, you will work with a partner, either your supervisor or another enumerator in your group, to conduct at least one mock interview over the phone to make sure you're comfortable with how you can collect the data over the phone. Finally, we have the RFO Regional Field Office STAT-led teleconference. We want to make sure you block out your 90 minutes to attend your state's teleconference. If you cannot attend your state-specific teleconference, be sure to contact your supervisor and we can see about getting you added to one of the other scheduled teleconferences. Be prepared to ask any questions that you and your supervisor might still have unresolved. There isn't everything that you can find on the website. You're not going to be able to have every question answered by just reading the manual or watching the videos or taking a quiz. So if you have questions, be ready to ask them. When you're getting ready for the teleconference, we ask that you dial in approximately 10 minutes early and that you keep your phone on mute. If your phone does not have a mute button, you can dial *6 on your phone to mute yourself, or you can dial then *6 again to unmute yourself. Once you've completed everything in this checklist, your supervisor can then certify that you've been sufficiently trained and are ready to begin data collection. For the last part of this video, what I'd like to do is just remind people of ways that we can use, of course, the iPad to watch the videos, but because you have a smaller screen, you might have to do a little bit of trickery to make sure that things fit properly. First, it is always best to view these videos in landscape mode, meaning that your screen is wider than it is tall. As I click on the video for number 1 here, it is going to open up in a special window within the Purdue site. Then I can just basically play the video here, if that works well for you. This is John Miyares from the USDA NASS Great Lakes Regional Field Office in East Lansing, Michigan. Now, Notice after I pause this video, it sometimes is giving some options for other videos that you might be interested in watching. You can just be sure to X this part out, and then that shouldn't be a problem. You should also be able to view this video in full screen mode so that you can take full advantage of the screen and not feel like you have to squint when you are watching the video. Also, all of these videos are closed captioned, so you would be able to follow if the audio is not perfectly clear for you. Finally, you do have the option of watching these through the YouTube website. If I click on that YouTube button, it will open up the video within the YouTube website, but then you're also going to have to deal with all the other garbage that comes with watching things on YouTube. Again, we can maximize our screen and we can play the video from here, and all should be good. Well, that's all I wanted to cover in this particular training video. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to working with you on this survey, and we look forward to talking to you all at the upcoming teleconferences.